All right, real quick, I just want to apologize for some of the promises I've been making in past videos and haven't really been following through on. This is a bad reoccurring habit that I seem to have where I'll get caught up in the heat of the moment making the video, and then towards the end of the video, I'll think, okay, what's the next exciting thing you want to see? Maybe a Shotzzy Play of the Week video or an analysis of some sort, and what ends up happening is I put myself on this rigid schedule when in actuality, I have no plan whatsoever. I have no idea what I'm going to be able to do to make these videos, so it just puts me on this schedule where if I don't follow through, then I'll be disappointed, you guys will be disappointed, and it's just a bad practice. So I'm going to get out of the habit of, promising at the end of the video. Instead, I'm just going to continue to make content as much as I can with the best quality that I can, and hopefully you guys continue to enjoy it. You continue to support me regardless. So the Shotzzy Play of the Week video will come out. It's just right now I want to balance the Shotzzy content with all the other types of content I have on the channel. I don't want to talk about Shotzzy too much. I want to highlight other pro players, and I want to talk about other types of content, other types of videos. So today's video is a little different. I'm going to be talking about Octagon and Halo 5 and why Octagon is so important for more than just practicing your shot. A lot of people use it to warm up or practice their shot, but you can also use it to practice movement, your patience, and to really iron out and perfect your consistency with every single mechanic that Halo 5 has at its disposal. Now, if you guys remember about a month ago, I had a video called Using Elementary Math to Win Battles in Halo 5. I'll link that video in the description, but in that video I say that there's 4 main abilities or mechanics that you have at your disposal when you're in a battle in Halo. It's your strafe, your crouch, your jump, and your thrust. And depending on the order that you use these, like your jump and your thrust being your lifelines, then, it determines whether or not you can win a battle or escape a battle, and etc. But in Octagon, it's a little different because it's a 1v1 and you spawn instantaneously. So technically in Octagon, if you burn an early thrust and you win that battle, then that thrust could also come back in time for you to use it again in the second battle and win the second battle as well. So that means that it could, I guess, encourage bad habits in battles for sure. If you can separate the stuff that you learn from Octagon from actual gameplay and not, start jumping early or start thrusting early. So, don't let yourself pick up unnecessary habit. Instead, use that, use this as a learning experience to perfect certain mechanics. Then I think this is super beneficial to practice in Octagon. Basically what I'm saying is instead of just having your 4 abilities, your strafe, your crouch, your jump, and your thrust, instead, you can use all of your abilities when you're in Octagon. You can also sprint and slide. You can jump and stabilize. You can spring jump. And you can use all of that in a battle while at the same time, making sure you have an amazing shot and you're consistent at performing these when you want to perform them. And so there's certain areas where it makes sense to do these things. And by sliding or by stabilizing, you can actually ensure that you hit more shots than your opponent and you win the Octagon more often than not, especially in a Magnum Octagon like this. So I'll explain about what I mean here. I have specific timestamps that I want to showcase. The first one right here is going to showcase an opportunity where I use a spring jump to land a triple kill. So I get the double, spring jump, and then I managed to kill this guy for the triple kill. Now the reason why the spring jump is useful, so let's go back here. I finish off this kill. Now, I can strafe and jump and use my thrust to get that second kill right there. I got my perfect. I have no thrust left. I have half shields. I know for a fact that he's going to spawn up, and he's 99% likely to win this battle on me. If I just fall and I try to strafe left and right, it's not too hard to hit an opponent that's strafing left and right. Even if I have a really crazy strafe, it's going to be, pretty almost obvious that he's going to win that battle when he comes back on that spawn. But instead, you can apply other things, like I'm in the air as I'm falling. If instead I bounce off the floor with a spring jump, then I'll get a little bit extra height off of that jump, and it may trip him up and, make it more difficult for him to kill me. On top of that, with that spring jump, I can combine that with a Gandhi hop where I mash the crouch button really fast, and by mashing crouch, then I shake in the air and I make it really hard for him to hit me. Now, of course, by spring jumping and by Gandhi hopping, it's going to be hard for me to shoot at the same time, but if you can learn to shoot really well in these scenarios on top of consistently spring jumping and Gandhi hopping and things like that, then you as a player overall can improve. So, in this one window here, I know if I spring jump, right there, I'll go a little bit higher, make it a little bit harder for him to land those shots, and maybe I can trade for the triple kill. Just like that, I traded for the triple kill. Now, here's an example of how you can also use your slide which encourages you to sprint and slide quickly, and you can get in the habit of sprinting and sliding and quickly in certain scenarios. Obviously, you don't want to always be doing stuff like this and entering battles with a slide, but there are certain scenarios where you might have to, and it's important that you know how to shoot well while you're maneuvering like this. So I'll play the clip. I get the kill, slide, and then I finish him off again with a thrust backwards, and then I stabilize. And I do die here, but this is an example of using everything at your disposal. So finish off the kill, and then by sliding here, so I have half shields. Once again, if I just strafe like normal, then it's probably pretty easy for him to land the shots that he needs to land to win that battle. But if I start the battle, so the moment that I kill him, there's a small window of time where he needs to spawn, so I take advantage of that window and I sprint and slide. Now, obviously, my shield isn't going to come back in time for him to shoot me, so I don't care about resetting the timer on my shield in this scenario. I can activate sprint and slide, because it's not like I'm going to get my shield back before he responds and hits me one time. So take advantage of that window, sprint and slide, and then you have to have, the shot basically to carry that on into a perfect shot. Now, while I'm sliding, I'm already prepping myself to strafe as well, because I'm so used to this at this point. I'm used to diving in and sliding that I already know that once I get out of that slide, I've got like ideas in my mind for how I'm going to strafe or how I'm going to crouch and make myself a difficult target to hit while I continue to try to finish off the kill. And, at the same time, I have a thrust, so I know I can use that thrust if I need to. Now, as far as challenging in with a slide, in this Octagon, this is one of the reasons why I play this Octagon as well, make sure that you slide off on a diagonal. You don't go straight into the center of the map. If you approach too close to the center of this Octagon, then he'll spawn behind you. But one of the reasons why I play this Octagon is you can actually abuse the spawns as long as you don't go to the center and you sprint off to the left or the right and you slide diagonally like I'm doing here. He's going to spawn somewhere in front of me in this semicircle in front of me, maybe directly in front of me, maybe quite a little bit off to the right or off to the left. But in a situation where I have enough time to react and get the first shot, as opposed to if I'm playing AHP Octagon, it's larger, and sometimes they just spawn behind you almost like for no reason. It's harder to predict the spawns. In this one, it's way easier to abuse spawns. So you slide in. I already know in my head what kind of strafe I want to be doing, and I thrust backwards, and this is a big thing too, is the obvious thing that a lot of players do in battles, like in all scenarios in Halo, is they're strafing, and then they jump out one direction and thrust the other direction. This is super common in Halo battles with lower level players, is they just jump out and thrust, like jump right, thrust left, or jump left, thrust right. And it's like so obvious, you can see it happening before it happens. Like even the amount of time that they spend in the air before they thrust in that direction, like it's just very predictable. Whereas with Octagon, your thrust is omnidirectional. You can thrust any direction that you want. So this is an opportunity to try to stay unpredictable, thrusting backwards and forwards, and understanding that if you thrust forwards and you close the distance between yourself and your opponent, then you can put him under pressure and make him miss shots, which I'll explain in a second as well. So I slide in, thrust backwards, manage to get that kill, and now for the third part here. All right, so the third part of this, I hit the shots, slide in for the second kill, land that kill, and then I jump stabilize here for the third kill. Now, the reason why I did this stabilize is I'm one shot right here. There is no way in hell I'm going to win this battle no matter what. So my only objective is to land as many shots as I can before I die, so I'm up as many shots as possible on the next life and, can win the battle more quickly on the next life. Now, if I just stood still and I strafed left and right, I'm already at head level, and it's super easy for him to land that last headshot. So in my mind, I'm thinking one of the most unpredictable things I can do is jump stabilize so that when he spawns, I'm already in the air and my head level is raised, and it's harder for him to immediately react and land a headshot as opposed to if I'm just standing there. So that's why I activate the stabilize as early as possible, so that he hopefully hits my torso, my body first, and it gives me just a little bit more time to land maybe 2 shots or 3 shots. So you'll see 1, 2, I land 2 shots worth of damage on him, which makes me up 2 shots in the next life. So it seems insignificant, but by practicing this, you can start, applying your stabilize really quickly in a heated situation, but also being confident in your shot. So it encourages you to utilize all mechanics and to be confident in doing so, and to be super consistent at using all of these mechanics. So it's super helpful. I'm going to jump over to another section right here. where I'm thrusting forward, and understanding that by, jumping, thrusting forward like this, you're closing the distance between yourself and your opponent, and it's, it causes him to maybe choke, but at the same time, when you close the gap, it's, it's harder for you to land your shots precisely as well. So it takes a lot of time and practice to be confident in situations where you thrust forward and aggress on your opponent. But Octagon is a perfect place where you can practice thrusting forward and, applying these shots and landing the shots. And I have a whole video on how to practice aim in Halo 5. I'll link that in the description as well, and specifically in this Octagon format as well. So you can, refer to that video for how to aim in these scenarios. But land the shot, jump, thrust forward to close the distance, land these shots once again. And because I did an early thrust, my thrust is going to come back now. He's going to spawn. I'm going to hit the floor, thrust forward at him once again. During that thrust, I'm so used to being aggressive, and I know in my mind I'm going to do an aggressive thrust. I'm already thinking of what kind of strafe pattern I'm going to do after that thrust. I'm not just going to thrust forward and start shooting. I'm thrusting forward, shooting, and thinking, okay, I'm going to strafe in this way or apply this crouch, or I'm going to purposefully, walk out to the right for a long time and then strafe afterwards, which is, I'll make a whole video dedicated to strafing because I think it's worth a whole video. But being able to preemptively think of your strafe pattern as you're applying, like sliding and thrusting, is something that you'll start doing as well the more that you practice this. So having a really tricky strafe and crouching and make myself really hard to hit, I land the triple once again. I'm going to jump up here. Now this is going to talk about sliding once again, and just while you're sliding, understanding that you have to prepare yourself to strafe. So you'll see I'll land the kill, and then I'll shoot this guy to land the second kill. I'm weak at this point. Like I am practically one shot. I have no thrust. There's no fancy strafing I'm going to be able to do to not die quickly. But if I sprint in that window, the moment that he dies, I sprint and then slide. When he spawns, I'll be at the tail end of my slide, and he'll see me sliding, but I'm already ready to shoot. It's hard for him to land that first shot. So I'm going to slide, and preemptively, I know I'm going to be doing a tricky strafe pattern when I get out of that as well. And you'll see, like, I do a really tricky strafe, manage to land another perfect, and, nail that kill. And even afterwards, so let's just play this one more time, you'll see spring thrust as well. So combining your spring jump into a thrust. So I get this kill, or I get the triple, I'm going to die. I'm not sure exactly when this happens, so I'm just going to keep watching until I do what I say I'm going to do. Spring thrust, there you go. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to showcase is in this scenario here. So I land the kill, I get the double as well. I haven't burned my thrust yet, and I've strafed, and I've stayed alive. I'm up shots. So this is kind of a scenario in like a typical match in Halo, is you want to burn your thrust as late as possible. I've won in this scenario with my shot and my strafe, and I am practically one shot, and I finished by jumping, and I'm in the air. When he spawns, I'm going to be landing on the floor. So in my mind, I can spring jump and thrust, and that's going to make it very hard. Like, if I'm in the air, it's not like I can sprint forward and slide. I can't do that anymore. I can fall and strafe, but once again, if I'm just immediately strafing, it's like I'm an easy target. But if I land spring thrust out to the right, that's a high thrust, and it encourages him to miss like the first couple shots, which is what you want to do. Make your opponent miss the first shot. If you make them miss the first shot, it sets that bad, I guess, momentum in his shot going forward. It makes it harder for them to land those perfect kills. So spring thrust, and then I almost managed to land that kill. But the whole objective there is to hit as many shots as I can and be as confident as I can in my shot while I'm applying complex mechanics at the same time. So I take his shield off. He's one shot. I come back. It's an easy kill afterwards. And then I'll even show, so as I continue, there's a point here where I'm going to stabilize as well. Let me just, I also don't 100% know when this is going to happen. Slide once again. I did full shields there, but right here, like, oh fuck, I went up 30. Hold up. No! I might have lost it, guys. I think it's, oh yeah, slide. And then jump. And I'm going to land, I'm one shot, once again, might as well be stabilizing and try to land some shots. And in the stabilize, also remember that when you're stabilizing, it's highly likely that he's going to shoot you. So have the presence of mind to know that if he shoots you while you're stabilizing, don't unclick your scope. If you're clicking the right stick to click the scope, don't unclick your scope. Just let him de-scope you and just get ready to fire that next shot out of scope so you can be confident in that next shot. Like, this is all stuff that you get to practice and apply and improve your consistency in when you practice in Octagon. One more thing And then I'm going to showcase one other thing, and then we're like one other octagon, and then we're good. So this is just, yeah, once you get in the hang of it, you can also be super aggressive. You can slide, thrust in like this, and, you know, close the distance. And once again, I got my thrust back. I can land another sick triple. So you start getting in the hang of it, and you're flying around the map, you know, landing amazing shots, and also applying your strafe when you need it to be tricky. And in between deaths, you're sliding, and you're stabilizing, and spring jumping. And then in turn, when I'm spring jumping on a map, I do it way more consistently because I've spring jumped like 1,000 times in Octagon. So I can spring jump like on the fly way more easily when I'm playing in an actual map. So I think it's all important to take into consideration and try to apply in your Octagon so that you can improve in your general gameplay. And also because, as we all know, matchmaking is super stressful in this game, especially the solo queue. When you're stuck in the solo, like you're playing solo queue and people are quitting and it's laggy and you just want to, you know, get a refresh, take a break from it, Octagon is a good way to step away from that stuff. Now this is based on a map called the Sink. Let me just skip over to point right here. Now this map is an Octagon map that was designed by, I can't remember his name, but I'll find the person and I'll put it in the description, but it's called the Sink. And what I did is I took the map, the Sink, and then I changed the pieces on it, and I called it the Sink V2. You can download this in my file share if you want. This is just, it's the same as any Octagon map. You spawn up instantaneously, but I've specifically added these pieces that are useful for things like spring jumping and kneecapping and stuff like that. Like, you'll notice, let me try to point out some stuff when I can find. So those boxes there, like the pole, the pillar or whatever that he's standing behind, I specifically made the height of that pillar such that you can spring jump and land on it without having to clamber. So if you're good at spring jumping, you can like slide, clamber up, drop down, and then spring jump back up and land on it with a crouch and cleanly land up there without having to clamber. And you can practice like spring jumping and, you know, applying pressure while you're spring jumping. Of course, you can also use the super jump, thrust slide jump to get up there, but a reason why I did it was to spring jump. Even after you spring jump up there, you see there's like a light post behind it, which, oh yeah, you can see my mouse on it. Perfect. Yeah, so there's a light post there. You can spring jump up to that pillar and then spring jump thrust backwards and you'll land on that light post, which is goofy and, you know, like a waste of time probably in this scenario, but I've tried to take the time to like apply certain things that could be, you know, cool to practice. And in a map like this with cover, you can practice like different types of challenging, like strafing out to challenge or sliding out and jumping to challenge, depending on the scenario. You can, you know, really learn and practice a lot of different types of things. Like right there, stabilizing over the box, landing the shot while I'm still one shot. Really dangerous challenge, by the way. I'm a better, like, at this point it's 23-9. I'm confident that I'm better at this, you know, gameplay than this guy is at this moment, so I can be overly aggressive and try things. It's not always smart to do this stuff, but it's a good practice ground. Now, even this in front of me, you see how there's like, I'll use my mouse. This area that I'm pointing at with my mouse is like, it's purposely curved, like it's like a lip like that. I put that there on purpose because you can kneecap off it. If you jump, like sprint, jump, and then thrust so that your shins hit it, you'll fly up in the air and you can shoot a guy while you're flying up in the air. Like, I specifically put it there because I wanted people to try to kneecap off of it. And then I have one other thing as well, which I can't really see in focus right now. Turn. But you can see even here, just like using the walls to your advantage, practicing challenging out and staying alive, and, you know, applying all of these different techniques. There's one thing on the ground that I wanted to point out, but it's not really in view. There. It's right over here. So there's a little, like, pole where you can see where my mouse is pointing. I put that on the ground. You can thrust off that as well. If you time your thrust properly, you'll fly into the center of the map. It's just a couple little nuances and things that I try to apply to make this map interesting, while also a good source of practice for Octagon. So it's called the Sink V2. It's in my file share. You can download it. Feel free. I'll try to do whatever I can to add the necessary links and stuff to the description to help you guys out. But overall, practice Octagon, not just for your shot. Try to use it as a practice grounds for all of your abilities and and being confident and applying every single one of your abilities so that no matter what you're doing on the map, no matter how fast you're moving, you're always shooting precisely and confidently, whether you're sliding or stabilizing or spring jumping. It's a good way to practice, especially when matchmaking is super stressful and you want to take a break and you want to put in some practice time. So I recommend you check it out. This map, by the way, is good for 2 to 3 people. I wouldn't put more than 3 people on here. And yeah, have at it, have some fun. Hopefully you guys thought this video was informative. Hopefully there's some good information here that is going to be really helpful for your gameplay. What do you guys think about Octagon and about practicing? How do you practice when you play Halo? Do you set up custom games? Do you run 8s, things like that? These are really good ways to get really good at the game. Even just going on the map and playing like an endless Octagon style game on Plaza or on the rig. That's how players like Shotzi are as good as they are, because they just play 1v1s or they play like endless sniper Magnum games on Plaza or the rig, so that he's just so comfortable moving around on that map. It's a no-frills environment, just plays for hours and hours, and then he's flying around these maps when he's playing in competitive gameplay. So what do you guys think, and what do you do to practice Halo? Let me know in the comments, and remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell beside the subscribe button. You can keep in touch with everything as soon as it comes out. Thank you so much for watching the video. Have a good night, guys. I'll see you around.